We got Trevor Leopold in from the school district, athletic director. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nice to see you in here on a exciting day. We got some news yesterday about a change for next year when it comes to the rankings or the leagues that we're going to be in. So before we get to all that, though, let's talk about how winter sports are going for the district and for the high climbers. I know, as we just said off air, that there's been obviously some snow days, and we are in the midst of that where it can really cause an impact in some of these sporting events. So we got a whole host of them this week, right?
Yeah, we had to make up 2 of our games, so we actually have 4 home boys basketball games, and the girls are away, unfortunately, for all 4 games. But we had a game on Monday night. Girls won, boys lost, and then we have a game tonight, one on Friday night and one on Saturday afternoon. So trying to get those games back in from the snow days. Busy.
How are the teams doing this winter?
You know, they're doing pretty well. We're hoping that both the boys and the girls team will make it to district. You know, so they have to finish in the top 4. They have a good opportunity if they play well down the stretch. The wrestling team, you know, with the wrestling team, we have so many weight classes that aren't filled, but the kids that are wrestling are doing fantastic.
Oh, good.
So it's always fun to watch the wrestlers. We have our last home night, senior night, which is on Thursday at home. So if anybody wants to come down and watch the wrestlers, we have some pretty tough wrestlers in the school. Swim team is wrapping up here. Hopefully get a couple kids into districts there and on to state. And then, dance team. They're doing very well. As they've already made it to districts, so it'd be nice to watch them. And the bowling team, Saturday they have districts in Tacoma. So all the winter sports seasons here in the next 2 weeks are wrapping up and hopefully moving on.
We had the report in from Dan Gagnon, the coach there for bowling, that Alicia Paz had a 190 average at the tournament.
Yes, she had the highest average in the South Sound Conference.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
You a good bowler? You bowl?
I get about 100.
Yeah.
I
love bowling.
I barely break 100.
It's just like my golf game. I just grab it and throw it down the lane as hard as I can and hope it goes straight. Yeah.
It's a great sport when you think about it. There's no contact injuries. There's no referees dropping flags. You know what I mean?
No, you just go out there and roll the ball.
You just enjoy yourself.
Between the legs, yeah.
And between the legs. I've done that a couple times recently. Heard yesterday from you guys that the high climbers, the school district, the high climbers, Shelton High School is going to be moving to the 2A Evergreen Conference this year. And this is taking a look at the lineup of other schools in there, which we'll get to in a sec. But how often do these changes occur, and what's kind of the metrics on this thing?
Well, every 4 years there's a cycle. So every 4 years, that's what people are looking at as their enrollment numbers and where they're going to lie and everything else. This year, or actually about this time last year, we were very interested because the WIAA had a bylaw, and basically what it does is it takes your free and reduced rate of your school, and if you're high enough, it calculates that into your enrollment, and then takes your enrollment down based on your free and reduced rate. So for us, our coaches were very excited because we do have a high free and reduced rate in our school district. And they were just wondering where we were going to land. And we were looking at our enrollment and what the number was. And this crazy thing is the numbers were released only about 2 weeks ago. So when we got the numbers, we were 69 kids above the numbers for 2A. Okay. So our coaches were like, man, we were close because, we really feel that we're a 2A school. Most of the schools that are in 2A are kind of our demographic, same kind of kids, rural, not urban. Sure. And so we're really hoping to get there. So I was just sitting in my office one day, and one of my coaches came in and said, hey, well, there is that appeal. And I said, yeah, I know. And I looked at the 3A schools. Well, the crazy thing is there's another bylaw that was put into place where they made solid numbers for classifications. It used to be fluid, where we'd have 65 schools in 4A, 65 in 3A, 65 in 2A, and so on and so forth. Well, what that did is a lot of the 4A schools dropped down into 3A. And so that made 80 schools in 3A. So not only would we be competing against the South Sound Conference and 3A normally, we would also be competing against 15 other schools.
Oh, wow.
And you have the private schools in there, you have the metro schools in there, and most of those schools are urban.
Yeah.
When I did the data, all those schools, their free and reduced rate was about 35% compared to our 61%. So that's a huge factor right there. And we were actually only 4 schools away from being in 2A. So that's why all our coaches, I went and talked to them and said, hey, what do you think we should do? And 100% of the coaches said, definitely do it. Let's try to get into 2A. So I turned on the snow day, when everybody else was at home, I went into school. I was there for about 5 hours putting the data together. I sent it to the WIAA. And then on Friday, myself and Chad Youngquist and Chris Lacey, Chad's our swimming coach and Chris is our wrestling coach. They're coaches that have been around for a long time. We presented to the WIAA. We presented our free and reduced rate, the kind of kids that we have, in our district. And the big thing was, with us is transportation. And we have a lot of students in our district, unfortunately, that don't play sports because either they have to work after school to support families. We have a lot of kids in our district that have a hard time getting transportation to and from our school. And that was one of the main focuses that we addressed. And the WIAA understands that based on the number of kids that actually go out for our sports programs. If you look across the South Sound Conference, I mean, they're averaging 85 kids out for football. We have 55. They have 26 girls cross-country runners. We have 6. So our numbers across the board were so much lower than the teams that we were competing against. So we had we went in front of the panel, just kind of told them our situation, and they agreed with us. They said that we feel that you should be in 2A.
So now as I look at the teams that are currently with Shelton in the South Sound Conference, the other thing that we were talking about is not only travel for the kids, like you were just mentioning, but for parents on a Friday night wanting to go to Silverdale or to Gig Harbor or out to Yelm. These are treks.
Correct.
For families, and can be a definite kind of impact on watching that. In addition to that, like now basketball, 2-3 games a week or whatever, you're traveling all over the place. So as I look at the schools in the 2A classification for Evergreen, this is a lot closer for everybody. What would be the furthest one away? Would it be Aberdeen?
Yeah.
And still, that's not even that bad.
That was also part of our presentation as well. So the average travel time for all the South Sound conferences was roughly 55 minutes. The average for the for the Evergreen 2A is 44 minutes. So we're going south. We're on 101. We're on I-5.
Yeah.
To travel that way instead of going north is so much easier for parents and for the buses and everything else. And our junior high program, that is also the schools we play. We play those junior highs down there.
Yeah.
So it's basically now we're playing the same kids in junior high that will translate when we go up to the high school.
So how will this fill out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? So, and then North Main. How will this fill out the schedule? Let's stick with football for a second here. If there's only 6 teams plus Shelton, 7 teams, where do those other 3 games, where would those come from for football?
That's a great question, because that was a huge thing for me as well. If we would have stayed in South Sound Conference, River Ridge is coming in. So that would have made 9 teams in South Sound Conference. That means we would have had to lose the Mason Cup. Yeah. So we wouldn't be able to play North Mason. And they have my axe right now, and I want that thing back.
Yeah, you can get that thing back, man.
So what that does is it creates, an odd schedule, which is fine.
Yeah.
So I already know the first two teams we're playing. Week 1, we're going to be playing North Mason. We're going to be opening the new stadium on the 4th of September with the new turf and everything. Nice. And then week 2, we're going up to Kingston. So those are week 1 and week 2. We do have a bye week 8 right now, and I can't tell you what the schedule is because it hasn't been formalized yet, but I do know we have week 8 open, but we are already working with another conference to get a crossover game. Okay. So we will fill in the schedule. So every team will have a bye somewhere in there, and then we just find another league, and then we cross over with the football teams over there.
Tumwater, of course, has been a good team over the years. That'll be a tough one for the high climbers. How do these other schools matchup?
And that's a good question. And, you know, people think that because we're going to 2A, we're just, you know, well, now you're going to dominate people. You know, we're not. 2A is a tough conference. We're going into a tough league. And we just want to normalize, you know, we don't have these kids that are, you know, 6'5", like Garfield and Metro schools that have all these Division I athletes, you know, 5 starting Division I athletes. You know, we have Shelton kids, which are great, hardworking, blue-collar kids. They work their tail off. Yeah. And when we play these schools that just have, you know, it just is very frustrating for me to see our kids very disappointed when they lose. And again, they don't lose by much because they are tough kids. But you know, the league we're going into, it's not going to be a cupcake league. They are a very good league, so it'll be a really good competition for our school.
That's exciting. And as we were talking before you came in as well, this helps. So I guess the closest kind of schools in the last one would have been Capital. Mm-hmm. And with Tumwater, Black Hills, Rochester, Aberdeen, those are close. And these kids, like you mentioned, from junior high up, are familiar with each other when they go to like summer camps and things like that. So it'll kind of rekindle a little more of a, because we don't have a cross-town rival. We have a cross-county rival up in North Mason, different conference, of course. But the proximity to these schools, it increases that level of competition, too. A lot more fun, I think.
And I've heard back in the day we had a pretty good rivalry with Tumwater and with Aberdeen. Yeah. So we're kind of going back to the old league we were in originally.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. I think another big misconception is that if you go either up or down in these classifications, it's kind of like a promotion or a demotion. They're all tough conferences. It's like the NFL. All these teams are good, but it's the school size. It has nothing to do with the quality and effort of the players and the kids.
Correct. Yes, and I would just want to make another point is the WIAA was very impressed with our presentation, and part of that presentation is what are we doing as a school to promote our sports. And when I said that, hey, we added junior high sports this year, you know, so we added like an additional 8 sports. Yeah. So that's one huge positive. We added an athletic trainer for the first time in our school history, which is a certified athletic trainer. She's there all the time helping our kids in recovery, injury prevention, and when they do get injured, she's out there to take care of them. They also, with our facilities that we're building, so all those things put together with the junior high, the athletic trainer, all the facilities that we're getting, they were very impressed, and they feel that we are headed in the right direction as far as a school district for our sports programs.
That's great.
Yes.
Trevor, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for
good
coming
news
down.
there.